it's winter time, and when I brought my succulents in for the fall, I did have one window where I put some things that was just turns out to be too cold. It's in a lower level of my house, and I think succulents really need warm weather even when they're resting for the winter. So this one just looks horrendous. It's all etiolated and stretched out. This has completely fallen over, and my beautiful key lime plant is looking awful. It's all skinny and puny. So this video is going to be about rejuvenating your succulents, and I think what I'm going to do here is take cuttings and put them in. Hopefully I'll dry them out and I can root them and put them in a different dish garden. But also, wherever you cut, you should have new plants coming up, and maybe by spring that'll look really nice. So let's give it a try. It's good to have gardening projects in the winter, and I think this definitely needs a facelift. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off this terrible one. I think it's a ghost plant. I'm going to leave a little bit of the stem sticking out because the new plants are going to come out wherever the leaf scars are. So that's where they grow from. And I'm noticing some white powdery, I'm not sure what it is, but just to be safe, we're going to throw it away. I think I'll save 1 or 2 leaves from the top just to see if they're going to root up for me. But I really don't have high hopes for it, and I have enough succulents that I'm not counting on it. And actually, since they're not coming off easily, I think I'm going to forget the whole thing, given that it has this white powder on it. So that's just going to get trashed, and I'm hoping that I'll have a couple of new plants shoot out of that stem where I just cut. Alright, so moving on to this, I believe is an echeveria, and as you can see, it doesn't have that nice rosette form anymore. It's all stretched out. It was looking for light. Like I said, it wasn't a light enough window. But what we're going to do with that is I'm just going to go ahead and cut down here. And I'm hoping some new plants will shoot up out of there. And by spring, I can reevaluate what to do with whatever comes back. I'm not going to be heartbroken. I have plenty of cacti and succulents. And in this case, I am going to take some of the echeveria leaves off. I'm just going to twist them off the stem. Just twist them. And you get a little break here. And let that dry out. And I'm going to put it on top of soil. And some of these leaves should make new little baby plants, which will take time to grow. But that's okay. We'll see what happens. This is really quite an experiment. And, you know, if it works out, I'll have plants to give to my friends. So this is an echeveria, and I'm really not sure what kind this one was. And at this point, it's a little hard to identify it when it's looking so peaked. Sometimes they just fall off like that. So I've saved a few of the leaves. I'm not going to bother with all of them. And then some of them may or may not root. So I'll go ahead and throw that away. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to cut. And actually, here's what I'm talking about. This one, because it was doing so poorly on the top, and this one as well, has actually started to send out new babies at the bottom. So those are going to look better, way better than all the stretched out leggy ones. And maybe by cutting off the top part, all the energy is going to go into producing these little babies, and they can grow bigger and stronger. And the last thing I'm going to do with this dish garden is I'm going to cut my key lime plants. So again, I'm going to cut it down here. I don't have a lot of experience with these guys, so they may or may not sprout other plants out of the stem where I'm cutting it, but we'll see. I have saved some of their really fun leaves. They have little wavy edges, and this plant, I just get a kick out of this plant. So anyway, I have cut that back, I'm going to give you an update and show you what happens with this. And let me kind of aerate things a little bit, break up the soil. Sometimes soil gets really compacted and it helps the roots. I'm trying not to go too close to the actual, where the actual plants were. I don't want to damage any roots, but I'm doing a little aeration so that there's air getting down into those roots. So I have high hopes for these guys to sprout. Let me pick this up. You can see there's already some baby plants going on there. And then this one, we'll see what happens. If it doesn't work out, I have made these cuttings, and these are actually covered with a lot of roots on their stem. Trying to get it close so you can see that. So once these dry out, I'm going to pop these into a little bit of soil. Of course, keep them in a warmer spot because I abused them before. I feel terrible about that. It was in a little area where I just sort of forgot they were there. But this one too, this has roots on it. So I have high hopes that these will root, even if the stems don't produce new babies. I'm hoping that I will get new plants out of these too. And the ghost plant, we'll see what happens. All that's left of the ghost plant is this little stem. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, and I can lay these little leaves out here, and they also might perhaps send out some babies. But I am not going to plant my cuttings until they dry out, probably 2 or 3 days. Make sure the end is dry. Then I can put them into some dry soil, and I have a feeling they're gonna root. So here's what's left of my dish garden. Looking pretty awful, but given that spring is about 3 or 4 months away, I'm hoping to see some little babies popping out there, hoping these babies get bigger, and it's going to be looking a lot better and neater for the spring. And I will do an update on this. So this is what you can do. Instead of just tossing your whole terrible looking dish garden, you can rejuvenate it in different ways. By cutting the stem down, rooting the pieces that you take off, and also there's also leaf cuttings that you can lay on some dry soil, and they usually make babies of their own. So I've had pretty good luck with this. What happens is the leaf will send down roots and a baby plant, and you have to be awfully patient. This process takes a long time. Having babies come out of the cuttings here is a little faster, but like I said, it's better than throwing the whole thing away. And this was a little experiment, and we're gonna see what happens. And thank you for tuning in. Bye.